Taurus. So this is your astrology reading for the month of January. And so the way that I've structured this is really taking a look at those kind of major transits that are happening. We have a lot happening in the month of January, just kind of like we usually do, but there's kind of some big energy towards the end of the month. And so what I'm going to talk about here is how all of this energy will most likely impact you. And so this is going to impact your rising sign more than your sun sign. So rising sign being your first house, it's your first house of self. It's that energy, it's the way people perceive you when they first meet you, versus your sun sign, which is how you express yourself. And so that they are both significant, so both will apply. But if you're looking for a more holistic picture, you're going to want to listen to both. But then also there's the moon energy. And so the moon is that internal processing. It's how you feel. It's how you process things emotionally. And so a little bit less significant there, but also important to understand too, just how you deal with all the energy from your sun and your rising signs. And so kind of getting into this a little bit, we do have a lot of Capricorn energy, not a surprise, we're in Capricorn season. And so there's a lot of Capricorn energy in the month of January. And so what this means for you is that it's going to impact your fifth house more than any other house here in this month. And so the fifth house is the house of children. It's your passions. It is short-term romances, really hobbies, anything that you really enjoy doing outside of your work life or anything like that. And so just kind of keep that in mind when I start talking about the energy here. And so right away, January 1st, we start the month off on a good note because Mercury will station direct in the sign of Sagittarius. And so what's been happening with Mercury is that Mercury was actually in Capricorn when it stationed retrograde. And then it retrograded back into Sagittarius. And now it's going to station direct in the sign of Sagittarius. And then later in the month of January, it'll move back into Capricorn. But what's happening here is that while it was retrograde in Sagittarius, this was giving you some sort of big picture perspective when it comes to your long-term plans. And so what is it that maybe you needed to think about so that you could modify and pivot and make those adjustments that you need to make when it comes to your long-term plans? And so again, mostly internal because retrogrades really are that internal processing of energy. It's not an external expression, not yet. But with it stationing retrograde, now all that you've been learning, all that you've been thinking about and really seeing from that big picture, now you can start incorporating this into your life. And so for you, what this means is when you think about that fifth house, there's also a sixth house connection. So the Sagittarius impacts your sixth house. This would be your daily routines. So think about your job, your health, just like wellness, your diet, all of these things, exercise, all of that's your sixth house energy. And so now when you're talking about moving direct, what is it that you've been learning about maybe your passions, your hobbies, maybe even children that has some sort of bearing on your daily life? And so now it's, okay, I can move forward. I can communicate exactly what I'm thinking. What is it from a big picture perspective? And so this indicates here that whatever actions you're going to be doing at this point forward are going to be different than what you've done in the past, but it's because you've been learning. You've been taking all those lessons and now you're incorporating them go forward. You also probably realized what has actually been holding you back here. And again, this would be things that maybe recently came to the surface. We did have Chiron that recently went direct on the 26th. And so there might be things here that came to the surface and that you need to address. And that's part of your modifications for that go forward plan. Now on January 4th, we have Mars entering Capricorn. And so now we're getting into your fifth house specifically. And so Mars is the planet of action. So in the sign of Capricorn, now when we talk about these long-term plans, what is it that you want to do? And so really focusing here on your hobbies, your passions, maybe children. There is some energy about not everything being 100% clear at this time. So just kind of know that going into it, that you're not going to have all the answers and that you might need to pivot and make some different decisions as more information comes to light. So again, we have Mercury in Sagittarius and direct, so more information might come to light. And this actually has a lot with you kind of balancing that work and play type of energy. And so maybe that's something that you learned during this Mercury retrograde. And so just take that, hold on to it, because now we have more Capricorn energy. And so as we move into the 11th of January, we have the new moon in Capricorn. This new moon in Capricorn also impacting your fifth house. So again, just like anything that you enjoy doing, passions, hobbies, short-term romances, children, anything that kind of makes you happy in your non-working hours, think of it that way. When it when this new moon moves into Capricorn, when the moon really moves into Capricorn, it creates some sort of stellium here where we have the sun, the moon, Mars, and Pluto all in the same sign, all in the same house. That's a lot of energy. And so we have the sun, obviously the sun and the moon are at the same degree point when the new moon occurs. And so it's really bringing light to your emotions, because that moon is your emotions. The sun is shedding light. It is what you want. It is expressing yourself. And so this might be an energy of really, with that Mars, finding a way to clearly action or express exactly what it is that you want. We've got Pluto in the mix. So what is it here that you're trying to change? Because with Mars and Pluto in the mix, this is action, this is change, this is transformation. So what is it that you're trying to do here? And so set your intentions on what kind of long-term strategy you're trying to create when it comes to all of these hobbies that you want to employ, all of that time, all of your energy outside of your working hours. So really, these changes are going to be both internal and external. We've got the moon, so that is that internal processing. We have Mars, we have external. So your outside world and your inside world are coming into an alignment here. And then on the 13th, we have Mercury entering Capricorn. This is re-entering Capricorn because it went direct in Sagittarius and now it's coming back into Capricorn. So think about all of those kind of changes that you wanted to make, all of that big picture that you kind of learned about what it is that you need going forward. And so here, because your passion is so highlighted and your hobbies and just everything, again, outside of your work is so highlighted here, there is another stellium taking place. So the moon has moved on. The moon is a very fast moving energy. We've got the sun, we have Mars, we have Pluto, and now we have Mercury. And so adding in, so we've got sun, we've got highlighting that change for you. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to say? Because that's Mercury. We've doing energy with Mars. We have Pluto with a transformation. So this is that, okay, these are the actions that I want to do. These are the changes that I need to make in order to feel fulfilled with the type of kind of passion life, we'll call it that you want to explore and that you want long term. Because this is really aligning your thoughts, your words, your actions. And so love to see this type of energy. And there is another one connected to this. So when I look at because we are in this Mercury entering Capricorn, there's actually a lot of positive energy around this as well, because there is Jupiter in the mix, but it is in aspect. And so obviously Jupiter's not sitting in here in this sign, but it is actually kind of blessing whatever it is that you're trying to do right now. There's a lot of good luck and success surrounding this because Jupiter is good luck and fortune. About a week later, so on January 20th, we actually have two different things happening here. We have Pluto Cazimi. So what does that mean? So Pluto and the sun are at the same degree point in the sign of Capricorn, again, affecting your 5th house. This is actually a really big deal because that 29 degree point is that last degree before both move into the sign of Aquarius, which happens later that day. But while they're sitting here in the sign of Capricorn at 29 degrees, this is the closing of a cycle. This is pretty significant. Pluto does not change signs on a frequent basis. In fact, once it finally settles into the Aquarius energy, it's going to be here until 2043. So it's considered a generational planet because of how long it does take. And so anybody born during these years will always have Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. And so for right now, Pluto is sitting in Capricorn with the sun. And so again, closing up, really solidifying whatever strategy you're trying to come up with when it comes to your 5th house energy. So again, like that, your children, maybe your passion projects, your hobbies, things like that. And so we will have one more slide back into Capricorn later this year. It'll actually happen from, I wrote them down, from September 1st until November 19th, when it then re-enters Aquarius. So just kind of keep in mind that this isn't the final closing, but it's pretty close, because once it then closes at the end of 2024, it will not come back, not in our lifetime. It will not come back into Capricorn. And so pretty big deal happening here. Later in the day, when Sun and Pluto both enter Aquarius. And so we actually started to get some of this energy in 2023. So I should not have flipped that over. March 23rd to June 11th was the last time that, well, maybe last time and first time really, when we saw Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. This Aquarius energy is very liberating. Pluto transformation. So this is death and rebirth. What here needs to change? So this wouldn't be a sudden change. This would definitely be some sort of death and rebirth. So really kind of a breaking free from whatever blocks might prevent you from moving forward. It's incorporating innovation and maybe technology into the way that we're going. So you hear a lot about that when you talk about Pluto moving into Aquarius. You hear a lot about artificial intelligence. Maybe not to that extent in your daily life, but definitely going to have some sort of impact for you. And this is going to impact your fourth house. And so fourth house of home. And so what is it that you are trying to change about your home life that involves some sort of liberation? Is this maybe living in a different location? Is this living your life in a way that is different than maybe you would have seen in the past? Because that fourth house energy with Pluto, with Aquarius, this would be a major change in your life. And so this would be something that you're going to see for roughly 20 years. But kind of look back to what happened to you in early spring of 2023, because that's going to give you some kind of highlights as to what was to come. During this time, you are going to start to see, okay, what is it that I need to change? What is it I need to acknowledge? Again, this is going to be here until 2043. So stick with it. There's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows with different energies throughout all of these years. And on the 23rd, we have Venus entering Capricorn. So now we're talking about your fifth house again. We're going back to your passion projects, short-term romances, children, things like that. And so Venus is, what is it that you value? What is it you want? Venus is very expressive that way because it is love, it is relationships, it's value. And so really kind of thinking about how do you take what you enjoy doing and you kind of create this strategy, you create this plan for it. And how does that connect to your fourth house? And how does that connect to your sixth house? So how does that connect to your home? How does it connect to your daily life? Was there anything from a big picture perspective that is kind of influencing this when Mercury was in that Sagittarius energy? And so all of these things, because that energy is never stop and start, there's kind of all of these things that you're thinking about and kind of experiencing throughout the month. During the full moon in Leo, so we have the full moon in Leo 2 days later. And so full moon in Leo, this is I like the full moon in Leo. Because if you've had any kind of creative block, if you've had anything that was maybe holding you back from really expressing yourself in a way that felt really natural and very creative and just very kind of energetic for yourself, Leo is that type of energy. And so this is, okay, I need to release it. I need to let go of anything that would hold me back in that type of way. I'm just looking here to see what else I have in my notes. This is going to actually impact your 10th house. And so your 10th house is your career and public reputation. So are you finding a better way of expressing yourself? Maybe you are finding a better way of just doing your job, expressing exactly what it is that you mean to say. Is there something like, let's say that you put together, I'll use an example, maybe you're a lawyer and you go to court multiple times and you've always thought about, okay, this is the way that I find is the best way to articulate this argument. And now all of a sudden you might find a better way, and it would be a more direct way, and it would be a more clear way. And it kind of sheds more light, gives more context to what exactly it is that you're trying to communicate. That would be the creative expression of Leo. And this would be something that, okay, now I understand this is what I'm trying to do. And so my old way of doing it needs to go away because I found this better way of doing it, and it resonates more with the jury. It resonates more with the judge. And so that's what you're looking for right now. I'm also getting that you might be rewarded for any kind of creative efforts in your career right now. And so think about, because we do have Pluto in Aquarius, and so 4th house, 10th house, they are opposite on the zodiac wheel. And so maybe some changes that you're making to your home life are going to spill over into your career and in a positive way. And so maybe you're able to bring some of that innovation and some of that, this would be innovation that's not technology, but this would be just thinking outside the box and getting rewarded for it. And then on the 27th, we actually have Uranus stationing direct in the sign of Taurus. So obviously it's going to impact your 1st house because you are Taurus. And what I really love about this energy is, one, it's going to shatter whatever has been holding you back from living your authentic life, being your authentic self, really kind of aligning how you feel about yourself, the way you see yourself, and then the way other people see you. And so I love to see this type of energy because Uranus, if you think about it from a tarot perspective, it's the Tower. But I don't see the Tower as a bad thing. I see it as removing any kind of barriers to you doing exactly what you want to do, living the life that you want to live. And so that's what Uranus is going to do when it stations direct in Taurus. It's really going to focus here on what you value, what is the most meaningful for you. And at the same time, once this happens, all the planets are now going to be direct for about 2 months. And so on April 1st, we will have Mercury station retrograde. And so for about 2 months, all these planets are moving forward. There's a lot of progress that's going to happen over those couple of months. So just keep that in mind. And then hopefully this remains this positive going into February. I haven't even looked at the February transits yet to see, but I'm sure they will be. So Taurus, I hope this resonates. I'm kind of babbling a little bit, but let me know if you like this format, if this works for you, if you don't like it, if you want me to go back to maybe the way I was doing it before, or maybe you just don't care about astrology at all. So I will take any feedback that you have, but I just wanted to see what you think of this format. And if it resonates, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Take care.